Hi everyone, welcome to my picture book presentation on the Napping House. The author is Audrey Wood. It is illustrated by Don Wood and it was published in 1984. It's intended for 1 to 3 years old of age, and we can really tell that by the minimal text, the large format of the book, and also that it's printed on cardboard. It's very much a cause and effect storyline, and you'll see as the story builds, one thing will end up triggering another. It really helps to drive the story along. And also, it is a painted book, and it's fairly realistic. The color really shows that, the creatures or the characters look as they would in real life, but it also has some cartoon elements. You'll see from some of the reactions on the animal faces as things happen to them that it's quite a bit more animated. So these are the characters in the Napping House. You can see we have the house, which it's actually a character in and of itself, and you'll see as the story moves along, it actually develops its own kind of personality from kind of like a dark into a light or life personality. The other characters are really unique in the fact that it says granny or child or dog, so the characters that the reader would have an easy time relating to. It doesn't say boy or girl, so really a boy or girl would have an easy time to kind of see themselves within the story. Also, there's not a lot of depth within each character. Each character starts and really ends the story not having changed a whole lot, and that also helps identify what age group the book is for as well. The story is pretty unique. It's actually split up into almost two halves of the book. So the first half and then the second half. The first half is almost like a dream-like story, and you can see that not only in the words but visually as well. So the pictures in the story make it seem like it's very dark, it's nighttime, and actually everyone is sleeping. They have a slow kind of sleepwalk, and each character, as you can see, slowly wakes up, climbs into bed, goes back to sleep. And it builds like that until the last character, the flea, gets into the bed. Then he actually bites the mouse, and the story actually goes in reverse order after that. So the flea will take care of the mouse, who takes care of the cat, dog, child, and then the granny. The first half is a very, very slow build up. So that rhythm is kind of a bit slower, almost like nighttime. And then the second half, when the life starts to go into the story, you see a lot more action words, and it goes quite a bit faster in the second half. So here's the language of the book. So you can see, just like on the storyline, the language is really separated into two separate halves. The first half is very repetitive, so a character is introduced, and that particular phrase will actually carry over into the next page. So you'll find it almost like a poetic type rhythm, and on the next page then the next character will be introduced, and then both of those characters are now on the next page, not only visually but in the text as well. So the text slowly begins to build until it kind of hits its peak, and then that peak will be again when the flea bites the mouse and starts creating that excitement within the room. And that's really where the book turns into the second half. Again, you're going to see those action words, scares, claws, thumps, bumps, bends, breaks. The second half, quite a bit more exciting, and also it goes a lot faster because it turns away from that repetitive nature into a very single line text. So the first half, a lot slower. You're focusing a little bit more on the text, trying to see, okay, well, what's going to happen next? And then the second half, quite a bit more exciting, quite a bit faster. You're looking a little more at the visuals because there's a whole lot more going on in the second half of the story. One thing that's really unique with the text, and what really creates the story with the image and the text going hand in hand with each other, is that the first half of the book will give subtle clues in the image about what's going to happen in the next page, but it doesn't say that in the text. So the image helps drive the story along just as much as the text does. So the book is a large format book, so it does have some size to it, and you can see from the image below, this is actually a double page spread, and each page in the book actually has this. So the illustrator had a lot of room to work with, and it helped really create a really natural flow from left to right. You can see the text will be on the left, so you kind of explore some of the pages first, or explore the image that you'll see, read the story, kind of go back to exploring again. And that really works hand in hand again with the language, because you'll get to explore. So in this particular page, you can see the cat starting to wake up on the bottom of the screen. But in the text, it does not mention the cat at all. So you kind of explore, you see, okay, well, something's going on with the cat, but the author doesn't say anything about the cat yet. So you kind of go back to exploring and see, okay, what are the clues are we going to be able to find? And then in the next page, we'll see that the cat's now on the bed, and the story is starting to talk about the cat now. And it'll drive that way until it gets to that second half of the book, where that kind of more rapid speed or rapid reading goes along. And you can really see how both the text and the visual image are again hand in hand and really help each other along in developing and driving the storyline. On this slide, we can see a lot about line and shape. So I know there's a lot going on, but if you look on the bottom of the screen, you'll see the blue arrows pointing from left to right. That's actually on the floorboard, so you can see what the illustrator did and really help kind of create that rhythm or that flow, the natural from left to right. The lines are horizontal, so again, it kind of points over to the right. Okay, well, what's going on the right? You'll start on the left and move over to the right. The red lines that you see are the more rigid or straight lines, so there's not a lot of life or action going on. In the earlier part of the story, you'll see that there's a lot more rigid lines. The bed is quite a bit more straight up and down, and you'll see that a lot also in the table in the middle. You can see one half is actually straight, another half is actually bending and curving. So as the life starts to come into the room, the shapes will be quite a bit more rounded. Something really cool that the illustrator also did is that they actually kind of created this natural kind of circle. You can see that the granny, the child, the dog, the cat, the mouse, who's kind of in the towards the bottom right portion of the slide, they created this natural kind of flow and circle. So you'll kind of go left to right and then back into a circle again, which is pretty unique. And also it actually helps a lot with the perspective of the story. The perspective visually doesn't change a whole lot. It's very, very subtle. You're in the room the whole time. You're watching it. As there starts to be a lot more action, it slowly shifts down to kind of where you see it right here. So it almost makes you feel like you're in the story. So as the story is coming more and more to life, it feels like you're wrapped up in that as well. So here you can kind of get an idea of how the space and composition of the pictures go along with. So this is actually the same double page spread, just split into left and right. So you can see on the left hand side, it's quite a bit more open. The animals that were there, or even the kid itself who was on the chair, he's left, he's gone to the right side of the screen. The cat who's on the small little mattress on the bottom, he's gone as well. So there's a lot more negative or open space, a lot more, emptiness going on there. And those kind of give those kind of, again, those clues, okay, of what happened previously and kind of what to expect going next. You can see the text is also on the left hand side. It doesn't ever really change the area that it's in within each page. It really stays there. It just kind of keeps growing and growing until it gets to the second half of the story, where it turns into that single line text. But it doesn't move. But it's actually framed really nice on the wall. It almost looks like it's its own kind of picture built on the wall. So doesn't feel out of place at all. The right is where there's quite a bit more going on. Even though the characters are sleeping right now, all the characters slowly begin to build on that bed, and that bed will actually end up breaking at the end. which causes even more kind of life throughout the story. And also you can see the window there. The window is actually the only light source throughout the story. So as the story or the timeline begins to move forward and progress, you actually see light. So the story will turn from kind of nighttime into daytime, and you'll see light and life kind of grow within the story. Kind of another one of those ways that the story or the text and the image go hand in hand with each other. The color in each image or within the story is really, really awesome. You'll see a really great transition from the start, middle, and even into the end of how the color changes along with the storyline. You can see on the left, that's actually the opening page of the story. So it's very, very subtle. You see a lot more grays and blues, softer, quieter, nighttime. It's actually raining in that story or at this point, so it's a little bit harder to see it. The center is the more of a transition type, so you can see the window is barely starting to get a little bit of light going in there, so it's starting to get a little more action. You can see the animals are starting to wake each other up, but you do have a little more hints of dark and light. And on the right hand side, you can see that's where it's really going on. You can see the wall is actually entirely yellow now, so there's no more darkness in there. So you see yellow and green, so a lot of life, a lot of cheerfulness. You can see everyone's reactions on their faces. This is when the bed is broken. Everyone's actually excited about what's going on, so it's really cool.